Hi, this is Tony Malik, Senior Product Manager for Windows Azure. In this walkthrough, I'll demonstrate how simple it is to connect an application that uses a public data source to use the Windows Azure cache. The cache service provides a simple way to hold your data in memory and close to your cloud-based application. In a traditional deployment, developers need to spend a lot of time developing the cache. With the Windows Azure cache, the complex mechanisms building, configuring, and managing the cache are pretty much all done for you. So let's now do a demo and show how easy it is to set up and configure a cache. For this example, I'm going to demonstrate populating a cache from a public data source, in this case a feed from Twitter. Now let's build the application. To get started, I'll switch to Visual Studio and start by creating a brand new Windows Azure project. Okay, so click File, New Project, select C# as the language, select Cloud, and lastly name the application and click OK. I'm going to add an ASP.NET web role to run the application. Now the project's set up. I'm adding System.ServiceModel, which contains the WCF stack, enabling me to interface with Twitter. So I'll add this to the web role. Let's set up the UI. In the source view of default.aspx, I'm going to remove the content between the ASP content body tags, which gives us some room to work. Let's add an H1 tag with the name of our project. Now I'll add an ASP.NET Grid View control to the page. Now that the UI is set up, I'm going to switch to the code behind page and add a bit of code. The code snippet I'm adding interacts with Twitter, getting and formatting the tweets. This code snippet is provided in the project files available on Codeplex. Inside the page load section, I'm going to add code to search Twitter. To speed things up, let me cut and paste some code. This code searches Twitter and presents the results in a grid view control. Finally, to show the speed of the application, we can track the performance by enabling ASP.NET Trace. Let's run the app. As you can see, we've downloaded tweets. Scrolling down the page, you'll see how many milliseconds it took to run. Now that we have the application set up, it's time to set up and provision the Windows Azure App Fabric cache. Let's navigate to the Windows Azure portal and log in with your Live ID. Click on the Service Bus, Access Control, and Caching icon and select Cache. Create a service namespace for your cache. Each namespace must be unique to Windows Azure. Select a region and select a cache size. We'll use 128 megabytes for now. You can increase your cache size at any time to match your needs. Click on OK to provision your cache. The cache will take a few seconds to provision and activate. The status will change to active when complete. And here it is. Our cache is provisioned. Clicking on the cache reveals the Cache Properties pane containing namespace, service URL, and authentication token. You'll need information from this page later to configure your application to use the cache. So it's as simple as that. Cache is configured. Now, to use this cache in our application, we click the View Client Configuration button in the ribbon. This exposes the service-specific configuration information we will put in our web.config. For this demo, we need only the config sections and data cache client sections. So I'm going to copy those and append them to the configuration section of the web.config file. I'll go back to Visual Studio. Open web.config and paste the configuration data from the client configuration. Then, to use the cache in the application, we need to add two more assemblies, the Microsoft.ApplicationServer.caching.client.dll and the Microsoft Application Server.caching.core.dll. You'll find them under Program Files in the Windows Azure SDK folder. With those two assemblies in the project, we're ready to add the code to use the cache. Let's go to the code behind page of the default.aspx page and wire it up. First, I insert a static data cache factory object, which lets me store Twitter data in the cache. Next, I set up a variable for the instance of the factory with the cache name of tweets containing tweets. Next, I test for null, telling me if the cache is currently empty, And if empty, get tweets and populate it. Otherwise, display the contents of the old tweets in the cache. Now we're ready to use the cache. Let's run this. Now when the page loads and we scroll down into the trace, we can see the tweets from cache and tweets from Twitter messages. Refresh the page and note the reduction in time. And you can see the running time has reduced. We've set up our first cache. Note that we are deploying in the local dev fabric but using the cloud cache. This code will run in exactly the same way up in the cloud, simply by deploying to Windows Azure. In this presentation, we created a Hello World application and connected it to Twitter. We set up and provisioned a cache. We wired up the cache to our application, we ran the application, and we noted the performance benefits. I hope you see how easy this is and the benefits it can provide to your application. I recommend that you test this out yourself and find out how simple the service is to set up. The demo code, scripts, and snippets are all available on Coplex. Please also go to windowsazure.com where you can find the latest information and additional resources to help you try this out for yourself. Additionally, you can find details of our current offers, including a free trial and download the SDK. Many thanks for your time.